Hey friends, Brian Anderson here with another look at the book of Romans. We are in chapter 2, and today we're just going to look at verses 17 to 24. I'll read those for you now. But if you bear the name Jew and rely upon the law and boast in God and know his will and approve the things that are essential, being instructed out of the law, and are confident that you yourself are a guide to the blind, a light to those who are in darkness, a corrector of the foolish, a teacher of the immature, having in the law the embodiment of knowledge and of the truth, you therefore who teach another, do you not teach yourself? You who preach that one shall not steal, do you steal? You who say that one should not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? You who abhor idols, do you rob temples? You who boast in the law, through your breaking the law, do you dishonor God? For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you, just as it is written. Now, in this second half of chapter 2 of the book of Romans, Paul's putting his finger on two things that the Jews were trusting in, or boasting in, or placing their confidence in for their right standing with God. The first one was the possession of the law. The second one was circumcision. We'll cover circumcision next time. But today we're talking about them being confident and relying upon the fact that they possess the law. Verse 17 says, but if you bear the name Jew, so we know we're talking about Jewish people here, and rely upon the law. They were relying on it. That means they were trusting in it. It was their source of hope, of confidence before God. The Jews were a very privileged people, especially because they had been entrusted with the oracles of God, which is what Paul will say in chapter 3, verse 2. They possessed the scriptures, the law of God, but the sad fact was they did not practice those same scriptures. Their possession of the law did not profit them spiritually because they made the possession of the law the source of spiritual pride. It puffed them up. They looked at themselves, according to their own words here, as a guide to the blind. So they were the guides to those around them that were blind. They were the lights to those who were in darkness. They were the correctors of the foolish. So they're not the foolish ones, they're the correctors. And they're the teachers of the immature. So they looked at themselves as superior to others because they had the law. They had the knowledge of God's law. They thought the possession of the law was enough to save them, but in reality it would damn them because they did not believe in Jesus Christ, who is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes. They possessed the law, but they didn't come to Christ to atone for their many sins in violation of that very law. So what's the result? They're left with a law that damns them, but no atonement to save them. So Paul mentions that some Jews were even guilty of stealing, committing adultery, robbing temples, even though their own law condemned those very practices. And as a result of their law breaking, he says that the Gentiles around them blasphemed the name of God, and God was actually dishonored. Now let's try to apply all of this to ourselves. It's a great privilege for us to have the Word of God, the Scriptures. No question at all about that. But the real question is, are we living by those Scriptures that we value? Are we applying them to our lives? Are we obeying them? If we are not, we can end up dishonoring God because lost people around us look at our lives and they may end up blaspheming God by watching us, which is a terrible, terrible thing. It's important that we live out the gospel that we say we believe in, not only for our own sake, but for the sake of all these lost people around us that take a look at our lives. So may God help us to actually live out the gospel we say we believe in, to put it into practice, to be the embodiment of the truth that we believe. I'll see you on the next video. Lord bless.